Hey everyone, it's Bethany. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I am going to go through all of my craft things. I am going to pinpoint a lot of things that I just want out of my craft room right now. So last year in 2022, I shopped my craft room. I made sure not to shop in craft stores too much unless I really needed something. And I focused on using what I had. And time and time again, there were a few things that I just kept passing over. And in this video, I am going through my craft room. I have a pile of things that I just want out of my craft room right now. Not because I don't love them, but because I just need them out of my craft room. I have not been using them. I want to gift them to people, get them crafted with, and I just need them out of my space, simply enough. So I have things like picture frames. I have little totes for the kids that have been hanging around. I have rolls of vinyl. So I was focusing also on some of my craft supplies that I just want out of my craft room right now. So things like this, where I just have a tiny bit left and I just really want to use this up and get it out of my craft space. Things like these two colors that I just never use. I've had these for years. I want to say 2 or 3 years. Never used them. I want to get them used today and out of my craft room. Other things like this color, I've never needed to use this, never really wanted to use this. I'm going to use it. This patterned iron-on, I'm going to use that as well. So lots of things that I'm shopping in terms of actual craft supplies that I just want to use and get out of my craft space. I have things like gift bags. I have little tiny acrylic keychains that have been hanging around for years. I have a tiny additional cute little keychain charm, a little makeup bag. I have a sign. I have sublimation shirts that are in gray, which I never was inspired with, so I have a lot of those that I just want to use. Additional shirts that I've had on hand, a little chalkboard, loads of baby onesies. I want to get those gifted. I have sublimation iPhone cases. I have a tote bag. I have a little iron-on design. I have all of these things that have just been lingering in my craft space and I haven't used them. And as I am beginning this year, I love starting fresh every year, and I thought, what better way than to get some things out of my craft room that I have not been using, but I've been wanting to use, and just get them crafted with, gifted, and out of my space. So let's go ahead and get started. I have everything all ready to go. I have quite a few things to get done on my craft list tonight, and I hope that this inspires you not only to get crafting, but also to clear out your space. My craft room went through a big renovation last December, so a month ago, and behind the scenes, everything is looking pretty new. And while I was doing that, I was going through drawers and going through all of my supplies to get everything cleaned out. And this is what you see right on my craft space, is a lot of things that I realized I definitely need to use. All right, let's go ahead and start crafting. Okay, so this is one of the items that I really want out of my craft space, and I really want to clarify, it's not because I don't like any of these things, it's because they have just been lingering, and I just really want to get them used, crafted with, and gifted to other people. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. This is a cute little chalkboard in the shape of a little house, and I instantly fell in love with it, but it's been kind of lingering in my craft room, and I really need to get crafty with it. So I'm gonna take this little piece of chalk off. Of course you can, ooh, it has a little bit of adhesive there. Be careful not to ruin my chalkboard finish behind there. Oh goodness. Okay, so let me try to remove that. I think I found this at, let's see, this was at Target in their little bullseye playground, and it was $3. But I got it a while ago, so this may be something that you're not going to be able to find, but you can find similar things to this all the time. And I was thinking I wasn't going to need to clean off the surface, but it's quite dusty on the inside, mostly from the surrounding wood. And I'm also handling it quite a bit to get this adhesive off. So I'm probably getting some oils from my fingertips on there that I want to get off before I apply my vinyl. Okay, so a little bit of rubbing alcohol that I have just in this little spray bottle here. I'm gonna apply that to the surface, get that nice and clean. Again, mainly because I see some dust from this little wooded area, and also because oils from your hands can prevent the vinyl from laying down really nice. So there we go. And I cut a little mark on there where the adhesive kind of took the finish off, but that's going to be just fine. Okay, I'm going to set this to the side. That's all prepped and ready to go. The next thing I'm going to do is grab my little weeding tool, and I will be sure, as always, to link all of the designs that I'm using and all of the materials. Oops, that's upside down. All of the materials I'm using to bring all of these looks together. So as we start a fresh new year, I find it just, I mean, it's natural, right? It's natural in new beginnings to kind of set goals, but also I kind of feel like the new year is a reset for a craft space as well. And doesn't look like there's a dot to that I. Oh, that's not an I, that's an N. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Okay, so I'm thinking, at least what I do at the beginning of the year is I really kind of try to reset my space. And naturally my space went through a reset anyway because, again, I got a new craft space. Well, the space stayed the same, but we built a brand new island, which is what I'm crafting on right now. And I'm waiting for a couple things to arrive, and then I'm going to film the new craft room tour. So I'm hoping that that will be out at the end of January, maybe sooner, but if you don't see it, just know it's lovingly coming together. So I'm just waiting on a couple things, and it's been really, really nice. But in the process of getting everything all rearranged and getting everything cleaned out to be renovated, I found a lot of supplies that I noticed have been lingering in my craft space and just haven't been used. And as I mentioned last year, and many of you took on the challenge with me last year of shopping our own craft spaces, and it was wonderful. So the point of that, if you're new here, is looking at what you have and trying to use all of the things that you have before going and purchasing more supplies. So trying to use the vinyl colors that you have, or trying to utilize the blanks that you have, things like that before getting more, because there's such excitement when you first find that roll of vinyl or that beautiful little sign, right? You're so excited. There's a reason why you added that to your cart. But then sometimes those little pieces just sit in your craft room and they linger and they just aren't being used, and that excitement kind of dwindles. And not because you don't love it anymore, but maybe you got sidetracked and needed to move on to another craft, or you needed to do something else more pressing. But it's important that we shop our craft space and use those items that we originally bought because we love, so that we're using what we have. So I did that a lot last year. I'm gonna grab my transfer tape. And I get a nice, let's see, I think this piece is going to be just right. And perfect. Okay, so coming off of last year, my craft space, I'll admit, and my husband even noted it as well because he was a major part in the construction process. He noted it as well that I had really done well shopping my craft space because it didn't just, it seemed like it was not as full. And, you know, there's empty space, which is so nice. And I've talked about that in all of my craft tours, that it's always nice to have empty space in your craft room, right? That way you don't feel like you're just busting at the seams. But I was really proud of myself for, you know, really not just saying that I was going to shop my craft space, but really, really doing it. And it feels good. It feels good going into 2023. But also, I feel like it's a nice little challenge at the beginning of the year to finish up where I started and just get those last few lingering pieces all crafted with. Okay, I'm going to take a scraper tool. I kind of got my transfer tape a little bit bubbly there, but it's going to be perfectly fine. I'm going to burnish the top. Isn't this a beautiful SVG? I'll link it down below. All the designs that I'm using will be linked down below. I remedied that bubble. And I like to burnish the back as well. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now, I think, you know what? Before I do that, I'm going to trim the sides down because my transfer tape is going to kind of interfere with the left and right of my chalkboard. And I see a little area that I didn't weed, so I will remedy that in a moment as well. But that way, see how it just fits nice in there now? And I'll even do the top as well, just so that it's not interfering with the whole process. Less is more in so many ways. Okay, let's do this one more time. And there we go. There's also so much beauty in, how do I want to say it? Focusing on the items that you kind of keep ignoring. And I hope that's coming across accurately in what I'm trying to say. But I'm mainly trying to give focus to all of the things that I initially loved, and then, you know, giving them a moment of crafty fun. It's been really fun. Okay, so I'm going to bring that up just a little bit, and I think that looks nice. And I think it looks pretty centered side to side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just lay that down with my finger. There we go. And go back through with my scraper. Now, so many new friends joining this year. So welcome to all of the new friends and crafters that are watching. A lot of questions that I got in December when many people were joining my channel was about my tool caddies, and you can find those linked down in the description box below. I do work really hard to make sure that I link all the things that you see on my craft table and all of the things that you see me crafting with. That way, if you end up falling in love with any of the things that I'm using, if you end up falling in love with any of the looks that I'm creating, that you can quickly just open up that description box. I believe you just click the title of the video. Nowadays, YouTube is always evolving and changing their processes, but I think now you just click the title of the video and then a little box will open up and then you can see a little list of things. Now, I just accidentally forgot a little inside of this P, so I'm going to really gently, so I don't scratch the back of my chalkboard, I'm going to bring that up, and there we go. So this is our first little craft. Oh, so cute. I love this. Praise Jesus and spread kindness. I love how that turned out. It's so cute. I love that I'm finally able to use this really nice sign that has been sitting in my craft space. I prefer using a vinyl on things like this because I don't like the mess of chalk. And honestly, my handwriting is super nice in a planner, but for some reason I cannot do stuff like this when it's, you know, on an actual piece of decor. I just cannot. So I love doing a little chalkboard look, but with vinyl. All right, let's go ahead and cross this off our list and move on to our next little craft. Okay, this next one is going to make me so happy, and I'll tell you why. First of all, I have 5 onesies that I need to use, and I have someone who has a birthday coming up that I can create these for, which I'm so excited for. Another reason is because I have had this light brown kind of mocha colored iron-on in my craft space for longer than I care to admit, and I'm going to make a cute little coordinating set of onesies. This family loves the outdoors and exploring, so I found a really fun little collection of icons, and I thought I would make their little one some cute little coordinating onesies. So you will see once I start weeding this, I literally had just enough iron-on to complete this project. So not only am I getting 5 onesies out of my craft space, but I'm also finally using this iron-on that has just been sitting here. And again, things I just want out of my craft space. I don't want to bring them, well, we're in the new year, so I can't say I don't want to bring them into the new year with us, but we're in the new year, but I don't want it in my space anymore, right? Make room for new things. And I find that when my craft space is organized and a little emptier, I have more room to be inspired. When I have clutter in my craft room, or if I find that, you know, my drawers are just busting with supplies, I find that that really hinders my creativity. So simplifying is really beneficial for me as a creator. It just really helps. Okay, so now I did waste a little bit here, as you will see. And I know that, you know, that can bother some people, but again, I've had this in my craft room for so long that I know that saving this little 1x3 piece, I'm not gonna save it. I'm not gonna use it. I'm really not. Okay, so you're gonna love these. I hope you love these, but they are adorable. Let me get one more. Where did I put all my magnets? Part of the fun of getting a new craft space is, well, rearranging, but also I have to remind myself where I put everything, because everything kind of got a new home, which has been really lovely because I feel like everything's functioning super well. I cannot wait to do the tour because I feel like everything is really functioning well. But I have to get used to that respectively, to know where I put everything. Okay, so again, a little bit more of an outdoor theme. So we have a compass. This one is going to be a campfire, and I have them going every which way because on my mat in Cricut Design Space, I edited it so that I was able to move things where I needed them to be in order to fit 5 designs on not even, because this wasn't a full sheet, I had some pieces cut off, not even a 12x12 sheet of iron-on. So luckily, I kind of panicked for a minute because my heart was, I was all in on this project, but I didn't unroll the iron-on before, so I thought I had a full roll. And when I saw that I didn't quite, kind of panicked thinking, I just wanted them to all coordinate, right? I wanted them all to be the same kind of color, which you absolutely could make these all a different color. That would be adorable as well. I also was thinking, you know, it would be super cute. I didn't have 2 extra ones, so I couldn't do this, but it would be cute to make those little days of the week onesies, like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on and so forth. I thought that would be super cute as well. But when you buy onesies, usually you buy them in a multiple pack, right? A big pack, which coming up, you're going to see that is why I have a lot of lingering craft supplies, is because sometimes I want to do one craft, but then you have to buy the things, the items in bulk, and that can make it hard. It's great because you can have extras on hand, you can make more for multiple people, but sometimes when you just need 1 or 2 and it comes in a 12-pack, oh, sometimes those extra dozen things can linger. So I didn't want to go get just 2 more onesies for the days of the week project because I knew that the extras would just stay in my craft room. So I was thinking of putting like the days of the week under the little icons, but these are just so cute as is. Okay, so magnets this way. Now I'm going to trim these apart, and the reason I'm trimming them now is because when you have them all unweeded, it's hard to see where everything starts and stops, and I didn't want to accidentally cut into my design. Okay, so we have our map, our little hunting boot, or I guess it's not a hunting boot, but an outdoor boot, and flashlight, compass, and campfire. Okay, so there we go, and I noticed this is the time to double check, and I noticed I have little insides to my compass, there we go, that needed to be weeded out. These are so cute. Now I need to grab my lint roller and make sure that there's no lint on my little onesies before I apply my iron-on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to just lint roll right now. Actually, I might bring these all over. I'll lint roll, and I'm going to pre-press my shirts under the heat press or in the heat press. That way I remove any moisture. I also straighten them out. They've been folded in this craft space for probably over a year. And I am going to, okay, lint roll, pre-press. Then I'll place my design on. I will heat it at the desired temperature. And then, how cute. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place these on a cool surface. So I just use my countertop. It helps draw out the heat really quickly. That way I can peel off the liner once the iron-on has cooled. So let's go over to the e-press and let's get these all done. 5 things that have been in my craft space, plus that roll of vinyl, finally used, and these are gonna be so loved. Oh my goodness, how cute do these all look? I love them. I love that they coordinate so well, and I love that it's just a nice little collection. I think this is going to make a wonderful little gift. It's just so fun. You can personalize these to the family, what they enjoy doing, and I think they all turned out super, super sweet. So great gift idea, a great way to, especially for little kid onesies too, is you only really need a 12 by 12 sheet of iron-on, and then look at what you can create with this. I sized mine, I think it was about 4.5 to 5 inches across, and then for placement from the collar, I focused right on this underside of the collar here, and then I go about 1 inch down for onesies. All of those rules and preferences change based on the type of shirt and size of shirt that you're doing, but that's what I do for little onesies. So I also have a little tutorial all about baby onesies, and you can go ahead and check that out as well if you want to learn a little bit more about sizing and creating onesies with your Cricut machine. But I love how that turned out, and I love even more that it's going to be a great gift and that I have all of this out of my craft room. Okay, this counted as 2 things. I have had a extra little tote bag lingering in my craft space. I've also had this iron-on transfer just waiting for the perfect thing to do with it. And I really like the idea of putting this on a tote bag. I just thought that this was a perfect little sentiment for a bag. I love it so much. And so now I am going to be able to use this bag that has just been sitting around my craft space plus this transfer and get 2 things used and gifted. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same process that I did for the onesies. Go ahead and pre-press this little garment, make sure I can get these lines out and get it kind of ironed down, but also make sure there's no moisture in the material. And then I will iron this on and let it cool and then peel it up. So let's go ahead and get this one finished as well. Okay, so this is nice and cool. I'm going to go ahead and just peel the liner off, and it did a great job. Easy peasy. Oh, I love that. These iron-on transfers are really neat. Now, I've only done this one additional time when I made a little shirt for my little boy. That was so fun as well. But I love them because they're a really fun way to bring a really colorful look to your piece really easily. So really fun. I'd really recommend these. They're really neat. So if you see these at the craft store or online, I'll do my best to link this down below if I can find it. They don't really make a ton of these anymore, I don't believe, but I'll link what I can find down below for you, and you can kind of explore and play around with these as well. Okay, 2 more things done. The tote bag's finally used and the little transfers used, and this is going to make a really fun gift. So I've had this gift bag in my craft space for a while now, and because I'm doing a lot of gifts in this video, not all of them are gifts, but most of them are, because the point of this is to use and to bless others with things that have been in my craft space, and more importantly, just be able to simplify. So I am going to put just a little sentiment on the front of this gift bag, and now I'll have a gift bag to put some of these gifts in. I use a really fun font that has quickly become my favorite, and I'll link that font information down below. But I simply just typed out "for you," and I thought that was just simple and perfect, and I love how it looks with this font. Because I'm going to be placing this on a papery surface, I'm going to use my paper transfer tape, which is different from what I have been using so far in this video. But it's helpful. I'm not going to get the whole thing, but that should be just fine. It's helpful to use because it's a little bit more low tack. It's not as sticky, and it's important that you don't have a very sticky transfer tape when putting things on paper, because you can accidentally rip your surface. So I will link this transfer tape down below. It's super helpful to have, especially if you want to put vinyl on cards or any other type of delicate or papery surface. It's just a really nice option to have in your craft space. So I'm going to transfer my vinyl over to the transfer tape. And then the only thing about this is it's not clear, but you can somewhat see kind of through it. I'm going to angle this a little bit because I think that is just going to be super cute. And I like the look of that. So I'm going to go like that. Being gentle with my scraper around the exposed vinyl here because you don't want to tear it. But this is the portion of the craft where it's important that you have a paper transfer tape, because when you go to peel this up, just like I'm doing, if you have a really sticky transfer tape, like a traditional transfer tape, it can rip your bag or whatever you're putting it on. So you just want to opt for a lighter and lower tack transfer tape. That is super cute. Oh my goodness, I love that. That font was the perfect choice. I love how that turned out, and I really like the slant of it. Super cute. Okay, now I have a gift bag, and more importantly, it's out of my craft space. Okay, I've been wanting to use this iron-on. It's so pretty, and I just knew that my mom would actually love the look of this. It just kind of reminds me of her and her style, so I thought I would make her a cute little makeup bag. The best thing about these bags is that you can use them for a variety of things. So you could make a makeup bag, you could have them be a little pencil pouch, you could also have them be a little pen bag for Bible study, things like that. So I love that they are just a blank surface for you to create for whomever, and they can use them for whatever they'd like. So I'm going to just weed out. I'll put the font information down below, but I wanted to speak to this font for just a second, or this concept of a bulkier font. So sometimes I feel like pattern iron-ons or patterned vinyls are super hard to use because I don't really know what to do with them, right? It's kind of hard to get designs where it actually showcases the pattern. So when you're going to do a word and you want to showcase a patterned iron-on or vinyl, make sure that the font that you choose is thick enough. So go for a more bold font. In the previous craft that I just did, where we did the gift bag, I had a really delicate swoopy font. That wouldn't have been a good choice for this project because that was so thin that you wouldn't see and be able to showcase the really pretty pattern. So it can be kind of tricky working with pattern patterned iron-on. I know that for a fact, but I also know that it can be so beautiful when you just kind of slow down and think through some of your design choices. All right, simply enough, we're going to do the same thing as we have previously done with our iron-on projects. Pre-press, get some lint rolling done so that we have nothing on the surface, and then we'll press this down. Okay, I'm just going to let this cool. Again, placing it on a cool surface will really help draw out the heat, and you literally can feel it cooling down, which is super, super cool. But also I wanted to mention really quickly that you saw how I made sure that my zipper area was outside of my pressing field. So you don't want to have the zipper area inside of your heat press area because number one, it's super bulky, but also it's not good for your heat press. So I went ahead and just kind of laid that over and draped it over the side of my heat press as I do with each and every zipper project that I have, and it turns out really, really nice. Now I'm going to just gently remove, monitoring, excuse me, all of my edges, and sorry for my stuffy nose. Just getting over this little cold. So that turned out so, so pretty. Oh my goodness, I love it so much. And I also think that the font choice used and the boldness and that nature of the bold font really helped to showcase the beautiful pattern on that iron-on. So just a little tip for when working with patterned items, it's just helpful to make sure that you're slowing down with those design choices so that you can accurately and really beautifully showcase all of the beautiful pattern. The next thing that I want to do is I've had these really, really cute bins that I got from, they're called mini totes. I got them from Michael's. Well, I was actually very, very soon after my son was born. And well, that was 18 months ago. So I've had them in my space for a while. And I got them for my kiddos, girl, girl, boy. Of course, you don't have to do pink and blue, but I thought these were super cute and would be really fun for doing just little gifts. So I am going to get these done and I'm going to do fun little gifts for the kiddos. So what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm going to take my rubbing alcohol once more and I'm going to clean off the surface, mainly because they've been in my craft space for so long that they probably do have a little bit of dust on them. And just cleaning these off, and then I will set these to the side. And there we go. This one has substantially less glitter than the rest of them. Not sure why that is. Okay. And there we go. Now, once more font information will be down below, but you know me, and if you don't know me, you'll quickly learn. I love a good monogram. And honestly, I bought my Cricut machine to monogram all the things. So you could say that I have used my machine well because I like to put the monograms on all the things. Okay, so, oops, one more little piece here. I just did all of the little kiddos' monograms, cut them all out at one time, and there we go. Okay, now I do have tutorials on monogramming. I also have a tutorial on, I think, some of like the 5 best fonts or something like that for monogramming, or ideas for fonts for monogramming. This font is actually not in that video because it's a new font to me that I've recently fallen in love with, but I really like it. Okay, I'm going to reuse that transfer tape that we used on our first craft this evening with the chalkboard. Always, always reuse when you can. There we go. Oh my gosh, that couldn't have fit more perfect. Okay. Pressing down with my scraper and turning over and repeating that one more time. Go. Now, actually what I'll do, because it's too hard when the sticky is all exposed, I'm going to trim these apart. Okay. Just like that. It's easier to trim when it's still not sticky and makes it a little less crazy. Okay, putting my first one down, center it where I'd like. I think that looks good to my eye. And I'm just going to press down with my fingers first, reinforce that pressure with a scraper. Let's see how this does. Sometimes plastics can be a little tricky. Oh, that laid down really nice. Whoop. Just kind of have to nudge it along. Okay, that looks great. And you can just kind of heal any areas that kind of wanted to come up. But there's our first one. How sweet is that? I love it. Okay, and then I will finish the remaining two. And at the timing of this video, Valentine's Day is coming up. So this would be a really fun little Valentine's Day tote. You could fill it with fun little things. I like to kind of treat Valentine's Day somewhat like Easter in terms of gift giving. I like just to put together a little tote of fun little things, or just like a little basket of fun little things. It's just fun. So that's another little idea. This would also be really fun if you're going to a birthday party and you can personalize this little tote with the birthday boy or girl's name or monogram, and that works super, super well as well. And then you could just fill it with their favorite things like art supplies or a little box of Legos, things like that. Okay, there they are. They are all done. They've been sitting in my room for quite a while, but this is another thing checked off my list and I can use them. Now, one thing I want to mention, because I've done this before, do not go ahead and then restore them like this, because when you come to pull them back out, that vinyl will come right off. I did that one time when I was decorating my bins for my linen closet, and I made a dozen bins and I labeled them with things like first aid, teeth, stuff like that, right? So I could have things for like additional toothpaste and all that stuff. So anyway, you don't need to know those details, but what I did was I spent an hour getting all of these bins labeled, and then I stacked them to carry them upstairs. And when I got upstairs, I kid you not, I pulled them out and all of the vinyl came off, because when you put them within one another, it pulls it once you try to take it out. So word of the wise, do not go and restack your items, because your vinyl could potentially ruin when you take them back out. Okay, I had to go shopping for some scraps in my scrap bin to bring this next look together. I have had this beautiful shirt in my craft room for a while now, and I found a really fun design, but realized that in all of my Christmas gift giving, which if you missed my video, I made 90 Christmas gifts with my Cricut last year, or a couple weeks ago, and it was very, very fun. But in all of that gift giving, I used a lot of supplies. So I realized when I was creating this video that I had no white iron-on. So I went through my scrap bin, and I have a really organized system for organizing all those little pieces that you cut off and all those scrap pieces that come off of larger projects. And luckily, because I kept that really nice and organized, I was able to shop that bin and find 2 pieces that would work for this project. Now, this is all one design, but I wanted to really speak to this because always keep your little pieces, and if you can detach your design and just cut it out in chunks, which you'll see in a moment more of what I'm talking about visually, but if you can kind of get your design cut out in chunks, then you can use multiple small pieces of iron-on and not worry about having full rolls. So I love keeping all of my little small pieces, because it is really, not only is it less wasteful, but it's really saved me a time or two when I have needed just little small pieces here and there. And instead of having to stop crafting and run to the craft store or order online and wait for it to come in, I was able to complete the project exactly as you see here. So I had this design, it said motherhood, which I think is adorable. And what I did was I just found one long piece here, and I'm going to trim this down a little bit. And I also have another tiny little piece for the hood that I was able to just cut in little chunks. So now I can just arrange them as so on my shirt here, and I can iron them on in separate pieces, but in the end I have one big design. So I love that idea because it helps save on craft supplies, plus it helps use what you have. So I thought this was going to be super cute on this cute little camo V-neck shirt. Another thing I wanted to speak to real quick before I go over to the heat press is that when you have a V-neck shirt, you want to choose a design that is shorter. So it doesn't matter in length. Usually I go about 9 inches across. Again, it depends on the size of the shirt, but I always focus on the cut of the shirt. So if it's a V-neck, which is going to go a little bit lower, just a tad lower in this case, you don't want a really big square design because you don't want your design going all the way down, you know, to your belly / belt area. You kind of want to focus your design up. So when I have a shirt like this, I always search for a design that is shorter. So I think this was, well, let's see, it was probably about 4 inches tall, which is pretty perfect for a surface area like this where you have a lower neckline. Okay, I'm going to do the same as I've done in all of my previous iron-on projects, and we're going to get this ironed onto this shirt. Okay, now that that has cooled down, I will go ahead and peel my liner away, monitoring all of the edges. And if there's any areas that have not laid down or are peeling up, then you can just place your liner right back over your iron-on and then repress it. But make sure you put your liner back on. If you don't have your liner and you accidentally throw it away or something happens to it, then you can use butcher paper or parchment paper. Just make sure that it is nice and covered. There's also Teflon sheets that work really well for that as well. All right, so there is a shirt that not only I have been able to decorate and get used, but I was also able to use some smaller scrap pieces, 2 smaller pieces to bring together a larger design. So I love how that turned out. That's so cute. And I'm glad that this is no longer in my craft space and is now heading right to my closet. Another thing that has been in my craft space is this cute little keychain charm, and I purchased this, I think it was the first year that I had my channel, so back in the very early days of 2020, and I don't have information on it at all, so I apologize, but there are things like this I'm sure that you can find everywhere, but I got this for myself and I thought, oh, I would love to have a cute little keychain. That'd be so fun. Then 2020 happened and I didn't find myself needing to give myself a keychain because I certainly wasn't going anywhere for quite a while. So it kind of, especially the size of it, it kind of got definitely lost in the craft room area, and I stumbled upon this when cleaning and reorganizing my new little craft space and equally fell in love with it again. I'm going to reuse that transfer tape. I'm not going to worry about the rubbing alcohol, only because I just took it out of that little pouch. It's been in that pouch for a very long time. It looks nice and clean on the surface, so I'm not worried about any dust or anything, but you absolutely can if you feel the need to wash that off. So I'm going to press this down. I do have a tutorial on how to make monograms like this. It's actually the first tutorial that I ever made on my channel. It's a really popular one, so I'll link that for you up in the corner here. That way you can learn how to make these fun monograms yourself if you'd like to. They're really nice for little circular items like this. So peeling off my backer so that my vinyl is on my transfer tape, and let's see if we can get this nice and steady. I might even use my magnets to, whoops, ooh, it's kind of magnetized there. Just to steady that for me. And there we go. Okay, and honestly, I think just rubbing with the pad of your finger is good enough, but I'll scrape that down. How teeny tiny is that, but so cute. Peel off my transfer tape. That didn't turn out too bad. How sweet. I love how that turned out. Teeny tiny, you can see how it kind of got misplaced in my, well, it wasn't misplaced. It was exactly where it needed to be, but it kind of shuffled to the bottom of the blanks bin that I have. And I think it looks so fun. I'm glad that I'm going to be able to finally enjoy this. Okay, another little item that I have is this really fun little frame that I picked up from the dollar store. Sorry about the background noise there. And I just loved the look of it. I loved the soft tones of it. And this hasn't actually been in my craft space for too terribly long, but I definitely wanted to use it and just free up some space for some other things. So what I'm going to do, it's a nice little 4x4 frame. I'm going to open up these little prongs on the back here, remove this, and remove that. Okay, now let me set this up here for just a moment. Move my magnets, and I want to add a really fun patterned paper. And this is obviously, as you can see me opening it for the first time, a new pattern paper pack to me, or pad, and I'll do my best to link it down below, but so many fun things in here, and I thought something is bound to catch my eye for this particular project. I love that. And I think with the beautiful, oh, yep, love it. I'm not even gonna explain myself. It's so cute. So many fun ones. I'm double checking that this is a double because I love that so much. I want to make sure I have an extra. It is. Okay, so it looks like there's 2 of each. I'm going to gently remove that from my paper pad. And I'm going to, I think it said 4x4, so I'm going to bring in my mini trimmer. And I'm going to trim this down to 4 inches. By 4 inches. Now that's not just the opening, is it? Let me double check with here. Nope, 4x4. Okay. Make sure it's the right size. Okay. Slice, keeping every scrap of that. It's so cute and springy. And with the design that I chose for how to take this project further, it'll work really, really nice. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is place my paper right in. Oops, it looks like it's just a tad snug, so I'm gonna take, not quite exact measurements there. Not on my part though, I think I had it about right. But we'll take a little hair off of each side. Oh, come on, Dollar Tree. Okay, there, that looks really nice. Okay, so that's placed in there. I can put the back right back on, press those prongs back down, and then I have, oh, how cute is that? I have a little patterned look right in my frame. Okay, now what I'm going to do is decorate it further with some adhesive vinyl. Okay, so reusing some of my transfer tape. Again, this is all transfer tape from that original project that we did on the first craft today. And I tried to do my biggest vinyl craft first, although I have another big one that's coming up. That way I can just keep trimming down my transfer tape and reusing it, instead of starting with the smallest one and then having to keep cutting larger pieces. So there's a little quick tip for you. Okay, do I need to spray this? I feel like it looks really good. Why not? Let's just spray it. It came right out of a pack, but sometimes that really doesn't mean anything. If it just comes right out of a wrapped package, I have definitely found that things can be, from any place, a little dusty or dirty. So let's just make sure that's nice and clean. And I'll link this design down below. I used it in my Christmas video where I made the 90 gifts for friends and family. And I used the same design and I made those really pretty makeup pouches that I just did just earlier in the video. But I did it with a teal glitter iron-on. Oh my gosh, those were probably one of my favorite things that I made for Christmas this year. They were so pretty. So I'm going to angle this just a little bit because I think that will be so nice. And I love that. Oh my goodness. So simple, but so pretty. Just a little bit of vinyl. And again, given the size, I went ahead and shopped my little scrap bin, and I'll place that video up in the corner too on how I color code and organize all of my little scrap pieces. It makes it very quick and easy for shopping your craft space. Now, I want to speak to this as well. So many times I have people say, why did you put it on top of the glass? Why didn't you put it underneath the glass? I'll tell you 2 reasons why. When you put it on top of the glass is just thick enough that it gives a little shadow behind it and it makes it super, super dimensional and pretty. Another thing that I really don't like doing is mirroring an image and putting it underneath glass, because when you do that, you have to get it perfect, because if you get bubbles between your vinyl that you put underneath the glass and the glass, you're going to see those bubbles. So probably in a design like this, it wouldn't matter because it's such a fine design that you probably wouldn't notice the bubbles as much. But can you see that just a little bit of visual dimension that happens from putting it on top of the glass? Now, run with this in any way. If you feel better about putting it underneath and you don't want it on top, then go ahead and do what you would like in your own craft space. But I don't prefer to do it that way, but I also just wanted to speak to that really quickly because I've had people ask why I do it on top instead of on the bottom so that it's nice and smooth. But honestly, the texture is not something that's going to matter to me. I'm not going to be, sitting there, like interacting with it at all. So I love how this looks. I think it looks super, super pretty. And I think this just really was a piece that was very much transformed with a simple, small piece of pattern paper and a scrap piece of vinyl. Okay, for this next craft, I really wanted to utilize small pieces of this beautiful pattern iron-on that I have had in my craft space for a while. I made my favorite shirt of the year last year using this pattern iron-on. Again, it was in that video of 90 things that I made for Christmas. So cute. I love it so much. But I had a little piece left and I wanted to chat a little bit about these shirts. So they are intended for the Cricut Infusible ink. Now, we are going to do one with iron-on and we're going to do one with sublimation a little bit later. So I'm going to set one to the side. But I also wanted to speak to this because you can actually put iron-on these. You can absolutely, if you don't have an idea for a sublimation or a infusible ink design, you can do iron-on. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do one for you with iron-on, and then we're going to do sublimation for the second one a little bit later. But I need to do the iron-on first because it takes a cooler temperature on the heat press. So I'm going to get this done. Then we're going to pause for a minute and do a couple other crafts while my heat press gets much warmer so that we can do the second gray shirt with sublimation. Okay, so what I did, I think this is gonna be so cute. I just created a little pocket and I used a triangle. No, that's not it. I used 2 of the free shapes in Cricut Design Space. So I had a rounded square, just like this. And then I kind of made it a rectangle. Then I took that square and I put it on its, 45 degrees? And then I welded them together to make a cute little pocket. And gosh darn, that is super cute. It's simple. It's a fun way to showcase a pattern. And I love that. It's absolutely up my style alley. I would love this with a pair of little white tennis shoes and some skinny jeans. I think this is so cute. So don't forget about using fun little pattern iron-ons just to make a fun little pocket. Plus, I love this on a gray shirt. It's so fun on a gray shirt. Okay, let's go ahead and press this on. That way I can heat up my temperature on my heat press even further so we can do some sublimation, a variety of sublimation towards the end of this video. I have a lot of sublimation to get done. Okay, let's let this cool down for just a little bit. It's so, so cute. Okay, there we go. And then peel off our liner. And we have a cute little pocket on this shirt. I think that's so, so fun. Oh my goodness. I love that. It is so cute. Now I moved it over a little bit because I didn't want it to be like in the armpit area, so I shuffled it over, and I think that was a very good choice. But I love how that looked. I think it's going to be super, super cute and fun, and I love it on the gray. Okay, now let's go ahead and pause for a minute. I went ahead and heated up my heat press a little bit more, but while we're waiting for that to heat up, let's work on these cute little keychains that I have had in my craft room for a while now. I feel like I'm repeating the same thing over and over, but hence the whole purpose of this video. Okay, so I wanted to use some iron-on. I also wanted to use these really fun acrylic keychains. This is adhesive vinyl. I'm sorry, I just said iron-on. And I have more vinyl, and more vinyl yet somewhere. Okay, so now what I need to do is I have liners on the front and back of these acrylic keychains. So I need to just very, very gently take off the liner, and I'm only going to take off the liner on the top for right now, and then I'll take the liner off the back in a moment. I purchased these from 143vinyl.com, and I'll just place the link to their website down below. And one of the funnest things about these is that they have coordinating cut files that are already designed, and they are sized perfectly. So if you want to download the cut file that corresponds with the acrylic that you purchased, then you can do that and have it all sized perfectly. So what I mean by that is I went on their site, and I actually had my friend Alex from DIY Alex. If you haven't seen her channel, check it out. I will link it down in the description box below. She is so fun with her Cricut. I love her videos. She had to help me out because I was telling her that I could not find the coordinating little, oops, hopefully this cut out nice. I couldn't find the coordinating cut file. So she rescued me, and she sent me the link of where they are. So I'll put that link down below as well, and then you can just so I had a coffee cup, I think they call it latte cup, and a cross, and then a mermaid tail. And so I just found the little cut files that go with what I have, and I was able to download them, import them into Cricut Design Space, and get them all cut out so that I could decorate these cute little acrylics. Okay, so I cut out two. One was just as is, and then I mirrored the second one so I could put one on the back side as well. Now, as a reminder, when you bring your SVG file into Design Space, don't do any resizing because they are already sized for the acrylic that you have. So one thing I also want to mention is if you have a vinyl like this that has a variation of colors and tones, and you want to showcase a certain portion, I took my keychain and I just placed it where I wanted the colors to fall, and when this was on my mat, and then I just kind of looked at the coordinates. So in this case, for example, I knew I had to be around 2 inches, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right around 6 inches. So pretending that this is my Cricut mat. So I just wanted to mention that too, because it can be helpful. I did that for my coffee cup as well, to make sure that, you know, my Cricut just wasn't cutting my design anywhere. I wanted it to be in a certain portion. So again, one cut, and then I mirrored and cut the other one. Now for, oh, there we go. For the cross and the coffee cup, I don't know that that really mattered, the mirroring part, because it naturally mirrors itself, but definitely for, I of course did mirror it just in case, but definitely for the mermaid tail. Okay, so I have that and that. And lastly, I have my little coffee cups, and I've had this iron-on in my scrap bin since my first year with my Cricut. So we're gonna waste a little at the bottom, but I need to get rid of it. I've had it way too long, And it's okay that I wasted that little bit because, you know, I don't use little pieces like that too often. Okay, now I also am going to, this is confusing in the moment, but I'll explain this part later. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I am going to grab, let's do the mermaid fin first. I'm going to grab transfer tape, just like that. And I don't know that I need to really burnish that too much for this one. Okay. I am going to use, I'm going to trim some off here, a little piece of parchment paper to help me line up my vinyl. So, oops, I'm going to have to do this side. Darn. Okay. I wanted to leave the back side covered until it was its turn, just to keep it clean, but that's okay. My mat is really clean. We should be okay. But I have to line up that little hole there. So I'm going to take my parchment paper and it's going to act as a barrier. I'm just going to expose just a little bit of my adhesive vinyl there. And then I'm going to just place that on there. And it might be even easier to see it from this way. Actually, that looks pretty darn good. Okay, when I have it where I want it, I can just bring out this parchment paper and let my vinyl, oh, that did well. Okay, surprised myself there. Just let my vinyl fall right on the keychain. Okay. And that lined up perfectly. Look at that. Isn't that fun? And no guesswork because, oh, look, you don't even need the back side for this particular one. I'm going to do it because I cut it. And it's probably a good idea anyway because it might help the acrylic from getting scratched. I'm not sure. This is my first time doing these little keychains, but oh, that's so cute. Okay. The parchment paper, though, is going to be, I feel like your best friend in this craft, though, because it's going to really help line things up. Again, make sure you keep a little bit exposed so that you have something to stick down. Okay. I think, oh, nope, that's way crooked. Hold on. Peel that back up. But I didn't commit because that parchment paper is preventing it from laying all the way down. So there, that's much better. Okay, take that out and lay that down. Oh, perfect. And I have a little girl who's going to love this tomorrow so much. Okay, here we go. And peel that off. Look how pretty that is. That is so pretty. I love how that turned out. So, so fun. Okay, so that one is done. Oh, I have a bubble or two on that side. Let me try to remedy that. If not, you can do is you can just put, let me see, a tiny poke in your vinyl, especially on a busy vinyl like this where you'll never see it, and it will just let that air out. Okay, that looks good. So now I can move on to my cross, doing the exact same thing. Placing this down. Okay. Using the parchment paper barrier. Let's see here. There we go. Forgetting my own tips and tricks. Always pull the backer away. It's so helpful. Okay. Putting this down, but leaving a little bit exposed right here. Okay. Oop, that light caught it, but you can see it there. Okay, and then lining this up. I'd recommend that you leave the area with the little keyhole exposed because that makes it easier to line up. So when you're lining up a keyhole, I think it's a little bit more, a little easier. Oops, And lining up, lining up. There we go. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. And look at the colors. And then I have, let's see, on the other one, I have, I think, a little bit more of the cool tones. Yeah, so I have the warm tones on this side and the cool tones on the other side. Isn't that cute? Okay, flipping over, I'm going to remove my liner there. So make sure, especially if you're like me and you're storing these for a long time before crafting with them, keep the liner on. That way it prevents your acrylic from getting scratched. Okay, here we go. And there. Same trick. Okay. And it's easier for me to hold it up to myself, so sorry if the view isn't amazing, but I do want these to turn out in real life, so sometimes you have to sacrifice the perfect viewing video for the sake of the craft. Okay. Oh my goodness, so cute. I love that. And then I have little hardware pieces that I can put on these later. I'm not gonna make this video longer by doing that, but I'll put those on later. Now, I don't need to worry about that particular one, but let's do our little coffee cup. So now what I did here is I knew I wanted this peach color for my cup. Let's do our little trick here. It's kind of easier for me to see it this way. That way I can really line that up with it closest to me. Okay. And then let me do the back and we'll move on to this next little part of the design. Oh, that's so fun. That is so fun. I love it. Okay. So this is an example of why I don't put vinyl under glass. Do you see how you can see, oh, it's so hard on camera, but in person, do you see how you can see bubbles? See there? And there. That's why I don't do that other method that I was talking about earlier with the picture frame. I don't like putting vinyl underneath because you have to just get it perfectly right. And I mean, if you have the time to sit and make sure it's all squeegeed out perfectly, then absolutely do it, but that's just not my jam. Okay, so now the reason why I cut that second little mug is because I wanted to make little coffee sleeves. So I'm going to trim these apart. I'm going to grab my paper trimmer and I'm going to decide where I want a little coffee sleeve. So put my little design in here. And I think I want there. And make it about that tall. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'm going to do this freehand. I have my little bit here. And let's see, just line it up just so. Get up a little bit. Just like that. And then I have a cute little coffee sleeve on there. How fun is that? Let me do this side too. Just like the same way. So, done with those pieces. Bring in my other coffee. Here we go. And lay down. How cute. Oh, and you can just have so much fun with the patterns when you do that one. Oh, I love it. Okay, so there are my 3 little keychains. Again, I'll add the hardware in a little bit. I have some extra hardware laying around in my craft room as well. So just getting all of the things all simplified. But another 3 things out of my craft space and gifted to others, 1 or 2 of them being my own kiddos. Okay, circling back to the second gray shirt. Again, this is compatible with infusible ink, which means you can sublimate on it. those are pretty much the same terms or concept. So if you are new to sublimation, briefly what it is I use a sublimation printer, and I'll link my printer down below, that has a sublimation ink, and I use a shirt, again, that is compatible with sublimation. So you cannot just use any shirt. You want to use a shirt with a very high polyester count, and you also cannot just use any printer with any ink. It has to be sublimation ink. I also print mine on sublimation paper, and really quickly what I'm going to do is I'm going to just rip around my design, and what this does is it prevents the paper from kind of imprinting in the shirt and creating a boxed look. So instead of cutting around your design, go ahead and just tear, because it gives this nice edge, a nice feathered look, and it will just really nicely press against the shirt instead of pressing these really harsh lines, because that actually does press like a boxy look around your design into your shirt. Okay, really quickly, I'm going to take this over to my heat press. I'm going to place a piece of butcher paper inside of my shirt. That way my ink does not sublimate onto the inside back of my shirt. I'm also going to place another piece of butcher paper over the top of my design. That way, once it's heated and pressed, the ink which goes up, I want it to not get onto my press. So I put another piece of butcher paper on top just to protect my heat press. If you really want to slow down and learn a little bit more about the sublimation process, I will place a link to a sublimation video that I have up in the corner. Really nice video where I really slow down and show you every step and explain it a little more. But for the sake of this video, we're getting a lot of things done, so I'm not going to go too involved in this particular craft, but you can go ahead and slow down with that video and really dive deep into sublimation there. Okay, the shirt turned out so cute, and I have to admit, the reason why I have a lot of these shirts, I think I have 2 more of these gray shirts, and the reason why I've had these for so long and haven't used them is because I just haven't been inspired with the gray color. I am always using a white shirt. I just find that I'm more inspired with them because of the ability of it being a little bit more of a blank canvas and being able to take on more color. So I was uninspired, but when I saw this design, I thought, oh my gosh, black ink on a shirt looks perfect, right? It will be a great option. But I really like how this turned out. I think it's really fun. Now, another thing I want to mention is that I secured my design because it was a sublimation paper and didn't have any stick to it. I used a heat tape. So if you need to secure any designs, even if it's iron-on, make sure you just use a heat tape so that it doesn't ruin your press and melt. Also, another thing I want to mention is that on my butcher paper, you can see, do you see how my design imprinted and the ink transferred over to my paper? If you notice that you have any ink on your butcher paper, then you're going to want to throw this away, because if you were to go and make another shirt and put this same imprinted paper on top with it having ink on it, this can actually imprint onto your next project, and then you'd have that look on your next project. So you don't want that to happen, so go ahead and recycle it in any way, but you don't want to use it for pressing any longer once you see ink on there. Okay, that is so fun. I love how that turned out. Really quickly, I am going to continue with some sublimation, and I am going to do some iPhone cases. So one thing that I find when crafting, and I spoke to this earlier, is that when you want to make 1 or 2 of something, usually you have to buy them in bulk. And this was the case with these iPhone cases. I think I probably had 6 of them that I got, and I only needed 1 or 2. So I'm finally going to use the remaining 2, get them out of my craft space. Again, we are continuing with sublimation. So we have a sublimation print that is printed on sublimation paper with that ink on our paper here. And then I have an item that is intended for sublimation. Now, these are the actual shells of the iPhone case, and we're not going to use those, but instead we're going to use these little metal inserts. So I'm going to place these to the side. Do not put these on your press. They are like rubber and they will melt. So these have nothing to do with the sublimation process. That's just the actual case. For this, what we're going to do is we are going to, there should be a liner. So I'm going to peel that up and reveal that nice, shiny, clean area there. And then I'm going to place it, you'll see there's a metal side, or a metal looking side, and then this white side. I'm going to place it white side down on my design. Now, my sublimation printer comes with its own program and its own software that automatically mirrors my image. But if you don't have a software that mirrors your image, make sure you're mirroring your design. And also note that my design looks very pale and muted, but once the heat is applied, it will take on a vibrancy. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just making sure that I secure it so it doesn't shift around. One thing about sublimation is that it has to remain very still. And that's one of the reasons why I actually purchased my heat press that you've been seeing me using, because I wanted an option that was very, very still and didn't have any movement during the heat process. Okay, so again, white side down so that the ink and the white side are touching. And I'm just going to make sure that that is secured there. Okay, I'm gonna go get some butcher paper as well. Just like the last project, I have my heat press set to 385 degrees and I'm going to press it for 60 seconds. Be sure that you are always using your own research, I guess I should say. And, you know, some people use different times and temps that work for them, but for me, this is what works at 385 degrees for 60 seconds. Another thing about sublimation is it can be fragrant, so you might want to open up a window or door and make sure that you have ventilation. Okay, I'm gonna get some butcher paper to put underneath my design and on top of my design, just to make sure that the ink doesn't bleed onto my heat press. Do you see how there is exposed ink here? Well, that's going to go somewhere and we don't want it to go onto our heat press. So instead, I'm gonna put 2 layers of butcher paper on top just to make sure I'm extra careful. And that way that ink will just sublimate onto the paper and not my press. Okay, letting these cool for just a moment, and they actually cool down really quickly, but I had my tweezers out because they come off very hot, and you can see, can you see that little boxed look and see the vibrancy? See how it took on that really nice vibrant tone? And these are already cool. These little metal sheets just cool down so quickly. But very important, as you can see, to place that butcher paper on top because you don't want that to sublimate and imprint on your heat press. Okay, now what we can do, that's such a good example of the whole process. I love it. Okay, what we're going to do now is we are going to grab our iPhone cases, okay, and peel this liner up. This is going to reveal the adhesive underneath. So then you can take your little insert and place it right in there. How cute is that? Isn't that so fun? I'm going to do this one. And these make for great gifts. I have a full tutorial where I really slow down and do this. And in that tutorial, I make one with a photo on it. So if you wanted to do a photo gift, and that makes such a fun gift, be sure to watch that tutorial. I'll link it for you up in the corner. That way you can also really slow down and learn about this process in a little bit more depth. But there they are. They're all done. You have the little iPhone cases, super easy and fun to personalize. And I'll also link this really pretty design set. It's a digital design down below in case you like this as well. It comes with a variety of other designs in that collection. Really pretty mints and pale pinks, which are just right up my design and style alley, and they're so pretty. And finally, once more, so I can finish up my sublimation projects, also get these out of my craft room, but also turn my heat press off, I'm going to continue by using up these cute little pop socket sublimation items. So these are for the back of your phone. They are so nice, and they attach to the back of a phone so that, let me find my phone. I have a loopy case, so I don't need one because it helps to hold that way. But what the point is that you have it on the back of your phone so that it gives you some place to hold, which is super nice. So it just kind of gives you a little bit of grip. Okay, so I have a lot of extras of these as well. So what I'm going to do, again, you have a metal side and a white side. This is the exact same process as the cell phone cases that we just did, but I'm going to place it white side down on my design. I chose a different design for this one. I'm going to secure it with some heat tape so it doesn't shift, and I'm just going to place all of these white side down onto my ink. Again, I printed this on my sublimation paper, and I printed it with my sublimation printer in sublimation ink. It's all such a tongue twister, but I have to over repeat it because if I don't, I will get asked if I just use any printer, and I'll get asked if I can just put this on any little pop socket or any t-shirt. So I just want to be super clear about that because I know that it can be a little bit confusing because it's a little bit more of a involved process and it calls for unique items that you can use with it. But once you get the hang of it, it's so super easy. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just continue taking off those little protective films and placing all of these the correct side down onto my ink. So again, the ink will line up and meet with the white side. Okay, all done. And what I did was I also just made my designs 2 inches by 2 inches. I think the pop socket is 1 inch by 1 inch. And you could even make them smaller than that. I just wanted to have plenty of room. So they're all ready to go. I'm going to do the same process. Butcher paper underneath, a couple pieces of butcher paper over top, and I'll heat it at 385 degrees Fahrenheit for 60 seconds. Okay, so I'm just removing the adhesive liners off of my little pop socket bases. That way it's all ready to go to secure these. Okay, and now, oh, they are already nice and cool. Again, these little thin metal sheets, they do such a good job, but look how fun those look. Aren't they neat? So as I take them off, just to keep myself organized, I'm just going to place them right on my little pop socket base, and then there we go. Aren't those fun? I think they're so cute, and I'll link the design file that I used. Again, it's just a digital, I think they call them digital paper. And this particular one was kind of a Valentine's Day one. I think last year I did a tumbler, a glitter tumbler. It was so pretty with this heart design. It's still one of my favorite pieces of drinkware that I use all the time. But I will link that paper down below because you can use it for a variety of things. As I'm proving this year, I'm doing little pop sockets, but they're so cute, and these make for really fun gifts. Again, take it a step further and put a photo on there. That would be so fun as well. But so super easy, really quick, and as you can tell, I did 11. You could do 12, but I only had 11 left. I did 11 right on one sheet of paper in just minutes. So quick and easy. You can create these in bulk really, really easily. Would be a fun like teenager friend gift as well, really for anybody. So all done with that. No need to even do any fast forward fun music because again, so quick and easy. And now I have 11 little odds and ends out of my craft room and ready to be given as gifts. Okay, another little item that I really want to use is this really pretty wood round, and it has a little burlap border as well as a nice wood border. Now this was actually this middle part of plain wood, just like you see on the frame here, but I did add my favorite chalk paint to the middle just to give it a different look. You could also paint the frame as well, but I do like a bare wood. I got this at Joann's quite a while ago, and I initially loved it, but then I found myself kind of uninspired with how to use it. But I came across a great design. Plus, I really, really want this to be used so I can get it out of my little cabinet of things, because as you can imagine, this has been taking up quite a bit of room. So let me set this to the side. I'm also going to bring in the design that I have. I'll link both the font that I used for the middle monogram as well as the design. I've used this wreath design quite a few times on my channel. I adore it. I just love the look of it. I think it's just full and fun. Another thing about this wreath that I really like is that I feel as if the style of this wreath just works really well all year round. Sometimes certain wreaths look a little more seasonal than others, right? So I like that this can work all year round and it's not seasonally dependent. Okay, I'm just getting enough off so that I can place my magnets down. There we go. And continue weeding out all these little pieces. Now, this is a design where you want to take your time because there's lots of little areas. I went through before starting and did all my little middle pieces just because that's kind of a monotonous little job. But there are little twists and turns in here that you just want to be careful of. That way you don't accidentally rip your vinyl. Just like, let's see where, there we go. Okay. There, okay. So I'm going to continue just getting this all weeded out gently, gently. That way I don't ruin any of my design. And we will make a really pretty front door hanger, or really any location is fine. Kind of reminds me of a fun little front door piece of decor, but doesn't have to be. Okay, finishing up this last little corner. Getting all those little pieces and parts out. I hope that this video has been inspiring you both with a variety of crafts, but also with taking a little glimpse at your own space and seeing what things have just been, sitting around in need of use. And I know we all have it. We all have it. And I like that I am starting, and hopefully you, but I like that I'm starting the new year like this because I'm hoping this year, last year, 2022, was shopping my craft space more. And this year, I'm going to continue doing that because I have a little bit more to go, but really not a lot. But I'm hoping to, this year, shop for what I need more than do impulse buys, because sometimes I get to the craft store and as a busy mama of 3, sometimes I just start grabbing a bunch of things because I panic and think, oh gosh, I finally have a moment to actually dedicate to, shopping for things, and I'm not sure when I'm going to get a chance to come back. And so then I just start getting a bunch of things, and which is nice. I'm using my time wisely, but what isn't nice is when those things end up sitting for a while. So I'm hoping this year I will try to do better at just shopping for the project that I want to do instead of shopping for the future. Although when there's a sale, sometimes it's nice to add a couple additional things because why pay more when you don't need to, right? Okay, burnishing the front and back. Let me know your crafty goals for the new year. Do you like to set goals for the new year? I haven't really done a New Year's resolution in a really long time. I used to do them a lot. I've done a lot of really, really fun ones, but I haven't done it in a while. I think just little goals, little progress goals are exactly where I'm at right now. Okay, there we go. That looks great. Now you can do the parchment paper method as well, like we did earlier, just to help you center and line things up. I'm gonna go ahead and wing it, because that's just how I roll. But I think, let me make sure that that is, whoops, that is top, and I think that looks really good. I'm gonna do that. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna lay that down. I'll re-scrape that down as well. And I'll be ready to enjoy this little beautiful wood round. I really like the white center. I think that's pretty, especially with that contrasting nice black vinyl. I think that's just very visually pleasing. So I'm going to keep that transfer tape that I just ripped off because I'm going to do a little stenciling next. That way I can trim it down a little bit. But don't you think that turned out really fun? And I love this. I think that it looks really fun. It can be winter, it can be spring, summer, fall. I really think it's pretty. And if you wanted to add some color, I kind of wanted to have mine just black, because then you really can just keep it up all year round, and it's not, you know, more pastels where you would kind of think more spring, or if you wanted to do more oranges and reds, then of course that would be a little bit more of a fall look. But I love how this turned out. I think it is so pretty. Again, I will link the design down below. But let's move on to using some of the vinyl colors that I just find I don't use. So sometimes this happens because either I order some vinyl thinking it's going to be a different color online, and then it comes and I'm like, okay, that is absolutely not in my wheelhouse of style. But other ways that you can come across vinyl that not necessarily is something you want to use is they put them in variety packs, right? Or you get a big roll of a variety of colors, and some of the colors you love and some of them not so much. So this is removable vinyl. So instead of tossing it, I really don't want to toss this vinyl. Removable vinyl can very easily be made into a stencil, and I do have stencil tutorials, on my channel. So be sure to check those out if you want to slow down and really go into this. But all I did was I have these little wooden blanks from Michaels. I added some chalk paint to the top only. I like the sides to be a bare wood. And I am going to do some stenciling on the top with vinyl. Now, they also make stencil vinyl as well, which is wonderful. I have many rolls of that too. But if you want to use some of your craft supplies that you may not want to use elsewhere, then this is a great way to do it. Now, you can, I think, do it with a permanent vinyl as well, but the removable vinyl is probably the better choice for doing a stencil. So all I did in Design Space was created a stencil of a heart. I thought I would get ahead on some Valentine's Day gifts that I want to do this year. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take that transfer tape that I used earlier, place that over, okay, make sure I got it lined up nice. Okay, now I'll do just a light burnish there. Okay, so now I am simply going to put this, now what I did, let me explain this a little bit more. I created, first of all, I went and did my measurements. I think this is 5 by 5. So yes, 5 inches by 5 inches. I went and made a 5-inch square box in Design Space. Then I found a heart. I placed it right in the middle and centered it. And then I selected both and I sliced the heart out of the center using this remaining area as my stencil. And I wanted this to be the exact same dimensions, 5 inches by 5 inches. That way, not only does it help when centering on the actual project, because then if I center this just so, then I know that my design is going to be centered on my project. But also because having that vinyl there helps provide a little barrier of where I don't want my paint. So I just like to size it the exact same size. Of course, you can size it down if you'd want and then use painter's tape, but the goal here is using the materials that initially were going to be either tossed or not used at all. So I'm going to utilize every square inch of this. So peeling this off, and I'm going to do both at the same time. That way both of my stencils are nice and ready to go. I'm going to further lay that down in just a moment, but for the time being, let me get both stencils nice and down on my projects. Okay, there we go. And peeling up. And laying down. Getting that lined up, and I'm just focusing on lining up that bottom edge left to right all the way across the bottom, and then it should all line up well. Okay, now what I'm going to do is grab my brayer tool, because that is how I like to seal my stencils. Oops, I got a little bit of a bubble there, but that is going to be easy peasy. There we go. Okay, we are set. Now using my brayer tool, I'm just going to really press and make sure that I get all of the sides really pressed down so that my paint doesn't leak. Oh my goodness, sorry about the noise. Doesn't leak underneath and bleed underneath is a better word for that. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start with the pink one, and let's get some of this paint out. So this is one of my favorite colors of paint. I'll link it down below, and I love this brand of paint as well. Just works so well. And many times I'm getting the question of why I use chalk paint. It's personal preference, but I think it applies better than just like a, I don't know. I find other paints to just be too watery and you have to use so many coats. I like that chalk paint is so thick. I like the final finished look of it. And so it's personal preference, but I just love it. Okay, I'm gonna grab my little foam brush here. And when I do stenciling, what I do is I go away from the lip. So I go in. That way I'm not dragging under or dragging towards the stencil, if you will, and not risking getting paint underneath. Because when you kind of go out towards the stencil, you know, it's possible for your paint to leak underneath. So I just go from the outside in. Just like this. Okay, so I'm going to put one coat on. I'm just going to kind of flatten that out a little bit. Kind of make sure my brush strokes are going the same way. Okay, I'm going to let that one dry. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see if I can actually pull this up a little bit. That bubble is not remedying itself as well as I'd like it to. There we go. So I'm not worried about bubbles around here because that's not going to affect my stencil area. But I want that nice edge where the stencil is. I want that to be really, really pressed down nice. No bubbles. Okay. I like to go ahead and just do the brayer tool right before I paint again, even if I've done it before, just in case any of that vinyl has lifted. And I'll repeat the same thing for my second heart. Now, be sure to look out for how I'm going to finish these hearts in some tutorial or in a tutorial coming up. I'm just getting this prep work done to use this vinyl, but also we'll finish these up for some Valentine's Day projects that we're going to do with the Cricut. Okay, that looks really good. I'm going to come back. This is not dry, but it's getting there. I like to peel my stencil wet. I think it peels, just gives a nicer line, nice crisp edge when you peel it right away. That's personal preference though. You can wait if you'd like. It's just my workflow. Okay, so I like to kind of zoom through. My style is a little bit more, you know, not perfect with the painting. I like that look. I want it to look kind of homemade. So I don't mind if I have a little white shining through. I think that's really fun. Okay, while this is still tacky and wet, I'm going to peel. So let me get my trash can right next to me so that I can instantly put this in the trash and not get paint everywhere. But I'm simply going to take a corner and I'm going to peel up and away so that my vinyl doesn't fall back onto my project and create a mess. Okay, so always monitor where your vinyl is. Okay, see that nice clean look? And it's still very wet, so that's why it's so shiny. Okay. Oh, and when you do your stencil when you do it the same size as your project, then you are, of course, guaranteed that that's going to be center. Isn't that nice? Now it's going to dry, but I think that looks so pretty. I love it. I can't wait to show you the idea that I have with these. So stay tuned, but I love the crisp lines of that. Didn't that turn out it turned out so good. I love it. And you know, the possibilities are endless. Just do any type of shape that you would like. I'm going to add a little bit more to this one because this one is a tad streaky. Did I add a second coat to this? I think I did. Maybe I just did a really crummy job with this one. Okay. Keeping it honest. We've all been there, right? Where we look at something and think, girl, you could have done way better. Okay. I think that looks good. That'll dry really nice. Okay. So, again, possibilities are endless because you can just do any type of shape. You could do words. I do have a tutorial on how I did a sign with a stencil and I did words on it, and that it turned out so fun. Ooh, a little bit of bleeding on this one, but not too bad. And you can always go back through with your white paint and touch it up. So I just have a little bit of kind of bleeding right here. But with a little precision paintbrush, I can remedy that and it'll be all ready to go. So I'm gonna wait till that dries and then I will fix that little area. But those turned out really cute. I can't wait to show you how I'm going to finish those up. I think they're really, really fun. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and clean up. We got so much done and my craft space is even emptier, which is so awesome because now I can start filming my craft room tour for you guys. And I can't wait to inspire you with that. Oh my goodness, all of this has been taking up space in my craft room. These were all things that I wanted out of my craft room right now. Cute little keychain charms, these shirts. I can't even tell you how excited I am. Not only that these shirts are going to be out of my space, but I get to enjoy them and wear them. This is just awesome and so fun. It's nice to transition things from my craft room to my closet. These cute little iPhone cases turned out so pretty. This monogram sign. I love how this turned out. That is so super fun. And then a gift that I have been wanting to make. I love this, plus the coordinating gift bag, which I think those actually look really cute together. So fun. Used two things that I had been really trying to get out of my space, the iron-on transfer plus this nice tote bag, and then again 5 little onesies as gifts. plus a chalkboard sign. I have many more things, including these pop sockets. I also have those bins that I monogrammed for the kiddos. Off camera, I also have the pretty little stenciled pieces that I just did in the final craft for this video, but those are drying and I didn't want to risk getting clumsy and getting that paint everywhere because, you know, I wouldn't put it past myself at this point. All right, I hope this was inspiring for you to take a look at your own craft space and look at those things that you have been overlooking, get them on your craft table, complete the project, and gift it to someone or get it out of your craft space and enjoy it. Please give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. I cannot wait to share my craft room tour coming up this month, fingers crossed. But also we are going to start crafting for Valentine's Day, which is so fun. So many fun things coming up. Be sure to subscribe if you're brand new. That way you know what's coming to my craft table next. And be sure to let me know what you're doing in your craft space as well. Let me know if this was inspiring for you to finally get some of those things onto your craft table and out of your craft room. All right, everyone, I'll see you in the next video.